Now, a second cargo ship has sailed from the port of Odessa in Ukraine despite the threat of Russian attack. The Primus is sailing along a new humanitarian corridor in the Black Sea. Now, it was opened after Russia withdrew from the Black Sea grain deal last month, which guaranteed safe passage to vessels carrying Ukrainian exports. The Ukrainian government has warned of the threat from Russian warship attacks and mine explosions. Rob McBride is standing by for us in Kyiv, monitoring events for us. And obviously there have been some attacks in the northeast of the country, Rob, but the international community really continuing to hold its breath as another grain shipment leaves a Ukrainian port.
That's right. This is seen as quite consequential, according to ship tracking apps. This vessel, it's on its way to Varna on the Bulgarian coast, and it's still on its way. It departed from the port city of Odessa on Saturday. It's only the second ship to depart from that port since the Russia ended this grain deal, guaranteeing the safe passage of grain ships across the Black Sea. Now, this corridor has been set up without any agreement from the Russians. There is still the threat of sea mines, of potential attack. Also, the shippers have to contend with very high insurance rates. But this has been set up by Ukraine as a way of getting ships that have been stuck in Ukrainian ports since the start of the war to finally get them going again, but potentially in the future of trying to re-establish grain exports from the Ukrainian coast. We've seen in recent weeks and months Ukraine looking for alternative routes of land borders and also the seaports or the river ports that feed into the Danube River as a way of getting grain exports and food exports out of Ukraine. But while those have been effective, it's still, if we're going to see a return to the kind of food exports that we had pre-war, then there is this general acceptance that they have to somehow try to start the mass export of food from these large ports on the Ukrainian Black Sea coast.
If we slightly pivot to sort of the Ukrainian counteroffensive that we're hearing about, what more can you tell us about that?
Yeah, there is still the focus tends to be on the southern front, especially around the village of Robotine. This is where the Ukrainians have, in the past couple of weeks, been making some progress against these formidable Russian defenses. There's been a lot of frustration, I think, from Western pundits, military experts about the lack of progress with this much vaunted, much longer-awaited counter-offensive that's been going on for a couple of months now. And there is some pushback, almost resentment here in Ukraine that these were unfair expectations about the pace of this counteroffensive, given the fact that the Russians have had months to dig in and create this defense in depth. There was also the breaching of the Kakhovka Dam, which flooded much of the front line where this counteroffensive would come. But also, as Ukrainians here will tell you, while they've had Western training and NATO equipment, what they still lack is air superiority. The idea of F-16s flying over the skies of Ukraine is still months away. And as they make the point that NATO forces would never dream of trying to have a ground counter-offensive on this scale without air superiority. But progress is being made, finally, it seems, towards this strategically important town of Tokmak. Beyond that, very far beyond that, is the coast of the Sea of Azov. And there is a feeling from bloggers here and also military commanders on the Ukrainian side that some of the worst of the defenses have been overcome in that area. While there's still a lot of fighting to do, that we may see an increase in the pace of the Ukrainian advance.